Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Return of the King game. This is another really fun game I played against Wei, and this time we swapped sides. So I'm starting as Free People, they are starting as Shadow. They start off with the King is revealed, very useful card for this situation. You get the King is revealed, you get to mess around in Minas Morgul, it's a fun time. I get Thranduils, which is great, and Elven Cloaks, which is whatever, but I'm separating Strider and Gimli. This is something I like to do. I think Gimli just can do a lot and do. And Boromir is good, but this way I get to preserve both Axe and Bow and Horn of Gondor, which is a minor thing, but it might be useful for the Fellowship. They're getting ready, I'm moving out, they're moving out, and they very nicely, they decide to go for Old Forest Road because they know Gimli is going to be in the way, which means I can't block. So that's a good move. I get Aragorn, they're getting ready. It doesn't look like they're going for Gondor, but of course they have the King is revealed. I get Imrahil and Athelas. Athelas can be really good just for the Strider effect. I mean, he can deal 2 hits and be really nasty. But this is also just a nice mustering card. And we're going to move on. So they get 3 eyes, not what they wanted to see, and I get a pretty balanced roll. I'm thinking with this, I want to move once, I want to move my companions, and I want to generally start getting ready. So I can't pass, I try to, but I play Thranduil. So yeah, I want to get some card cycling going. What I would really like is Wizard Staff. If you can draw into that early, it can actually be an amazing card in this mode. And I want to kind of surprise them with Thranduil, so I'm not playing that early. I guess I could play Imrahil, but I think Elven Cloaks is fine. Just get it in the pool. And I get Mithril. Not really what I want early, but it is a good card. They muster Sauron. And I move, and I'm hit with a 1 reveal. So it's the same as game 1. There's a lot of symmetry here. Both of us moved, and on our first move, get hit by a 1 reveal eye. But I think about it, and I don't lose Gandalf. And a large part of the reason I don't lose Gandalf is because I just don't have a will. So it's not even accelerating, and I might be able to get some cycling going next turn. I might be able to lose him to a higher number, which would be nice. I just don't see the rush. In Return of the King, you are much more free to do that with Gandalf. You don't necessarily need to kill him to a 1. They're moving out. I hide, and they play the King is revealed. So this is really nice. They have a very nice attack coming on Gondor. I muster Gondor to war. I want to be able to muster them. They play The Ring is Mine, and I play Thranduil's Archers. So it's obvious they're going to go for Woodland Realm, and I don't really have an amazing use for this die otherwise. I guess I could get ready in Erebor, but I'm just going to play it and start cycling. Maybe I'll draw into Faramir's, who knows. I get Scouts, which is perfectly fine. They move Nazgul around, and we're on to next turn. I get Wisdom of Elrond, pretty nice card, and Axe and Bow. So Axe and Bow has dual purposes. It could be a mighty attack that goes take Stronghold, or it could help the Fellowship. Nazgul Strike is very nice prior to Moria. They get a really nice roll, so they're going to be able to progress their military, and I get this. So maybe I should have killed Gandalf. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I start by cycling Axe and Bow. I'm still trying to get to some good character cards, and I get Gwahir. This is another reason I cycle character cards early in Return of the King, because now, whereas before I had to run away with a character die, now I can use a Palantir to do it. Let's see, they put Woodland Realm under siege, they're paying off their early investment, and I'm just moving, and I'm hit. It's a 1 reveal. I think about taking it as Axe and Bow, but I decide to lose Gandalf. Again, very interesting symmetry between these 2 games, as we both hit an eye on our first 2 moves. But I'm going to get to 6 dice. It's not ideal to lose Gandalf this inefficiently, but what are you going to do? This is a way to get to 6 dice. They're mustering up, they're starting to move, and I move out. I do not like getting trapped in Minas Tirith with Aragorn, and this is something of a threat. It's not that big of an army, but what I would probably do if they attack me is just retreat to Pelargir, muster a little bit, and then maybe they get Minas Tirith. They still have to spend some dice doing it. But then I have a really nice army building in Polar Gear, which is scary for them. They do not attack yet, and I get Gandalf, and they still don't attack. So they are playing it cautiously. I mean, we just saw in last game what Gondor can do if they're allowed to muster up freely. So I think that they're playing this safely, and I think that that's reasonable. But it does give me... I just play Imrahil. So I'm cycling through my cards. I know I'm going to want those reinforcements in Dol Amroth at some point anyway. While a shield wall is nice, I just don't want to discard that many cards. They play Shelob, and we continue onward. Some interesting card discard choices. I draw Deadmen, which is obviously great. At this point, I definitely want to get Strider up into Aragorn, probably Edoras, maybe Eastamnet. So Gwahir is really good for that. Deadmen I obviously want to save. Power 2 Great is just good in general. Mithril Coat is a very strong card. What do you discard here? I could get rid of my Scouts. Scouts is really useful for any Aragorn shenanigans, but if I plan on running away anyway, it's not that useful. So I think I discard my Scouts. And they get this decision. This is also a little tricky. You want Nazgul Strike and Cruel Weather to deal with the Fellowship. Ologhai is a really good reinforcement card. Swarm of Bats cancels Scouts, which is really good. I might get rid of They Are Terrible here. I don't know. They kill Swarm of Bats. Okay, they have a second Swarm of Bats they're saving. Fair enough. They roll a bunch of eyes, and I roll a bunch of all kinds of stuff. So this is the problem with Shadow, is I now have more dice than them, and on my last move, I'm going to move into Moria and prevent them from playing nasty cards on me. So, you know, sometimes getting to 6 dice can actually help the Fellowship in roundabout ways. Let's see. I hide the Fellowship. They play Phlox. This is fun. I wouldn't do this because I don't like Phlox of Curbane, but it could get you a hit. And if it gets you a hit, this is well worth it getting into Moria. I say, best of luck entering Moria. Yeah, very good. I play Gua here. I'm just evacuating with Aragorn. My thinking is they could just wait here until I get a bad roll and then run into Minas Tirith. So I'm just not going to let them do that. I'm going to run away with Aragorn now. These guys can fight on their own, and Aragorn eventually will come back with Deadman. They play Ologhai in Woodland Realm. Now they can actually take it. So that's nice. I do like saving those kind of cards in these games, just as insurance against Free People military victory. But there are more reinforcement cards, and this helps you now. I muster Rohan. We do a fight. They cancel my Confusion, and they just get 3 hits. So that's pretty good. I get 1, but that's not good. And they get 1 more, and I get 2 more, and they press a 3rd time, and they get it. So, Woodland Realm fell in 1 attack. I'm pretty disappointed by that. On the other hand, they did spend Ologhai. So, you know, they're making progress. And like in my game as Shadow, Shadow just decided to kill an Elven Stronghold, which is good, it's 2 points. But now the Elves are active for the rest of the game. So they might cause trouble, or at the very least they can muster up. I, though, am continuing to muster up in Rohan. And my thinking here is Aragorn is a little bit of a target sitting here. Rohan is active, they're ready to go. I'm just going to really muster up in Rohan, and then go wherever I want with Aragorn. And they're going to be really hard-pressed to stop me. They could chase me into Rohan, but that could become bad for them very quickly. Rohan is like my first target. Eventually, I'm going to play Book of Mizarble and get the Dwarves to War. I'm going to, in a long enough game, I'm eventually going to draw that card. But in the meantime, I have other stuff to do. I'm going to get Rohan going. They muster the Witch King, makes sense. I muster in Lorien, so I'm going to make them get Rohan to War, or maybe I'm waiting for Red Arrow. I don't know. I'm just waiting. And they go around. So they're going to try and sneak into Minas Tirith. It's probably not going to work. With 6 dice, I'm highly likely to get a hybrid next turn. But they might also be thinking about going for the king in Rohan. I move, they play Phlox, it doesn't matter, and they get a 3. So Phlox did nothing. It always seems like Phlox does nothing. I'm very skeptical of that card. But regardless, they didn't get a reveal, which is a huge, huge deal. I lose Legolas and Axe and Bow, so very nice. And we're on to the next turn. I get We Prove the Swifter, another companion moving card, and then Through Day and Night, which is so important, so huge here. That'll really make Free People Military Victory come alive. They Give It to Us and Shadows in the Misty Mountains. They at least have a nice reinforcement card that can take me by surprise. And you can see already, you can see how quickly these military threats develop. They took a stronghold from me, so sad. But I'm building up in Rohan. I already got the elves to war, so this is already looking like a pretty big army in Lorien. Shadows in the Mist Mountains is actually really useful, because if I decide to rush for Moria and Dol Guldur, which I could, they have a counter to it. Fellowship's okay. I get this reasonable roll. I'm going to move right away, because I don't want to get revealed into Moria. They actually miss me. So they should have saved Phlox for this move, of course. How could they have known? But, you know, that's the thing about Phlox. It might help you sometimes, but usually it's the wrong roll. They're getting ready. And I just use a character die, because I don't think I'm going to move again. I want to use all of my musters as mustering cards, as mustering dice. So, and I actually am happy in Edoras, believe it or not. If they come for fold, I'm not going to try and run away. I'm going to stay and fight in Edoras. And they come for fold. So this is where, you know, I've talked before how I'm a pretty aggressive shadow player. With Aragorn, I can be pretty aggressive too. My philosophy with Aragorn is you got him, and if he's just sitting around an Eastamnet on his hands, you're not getting the maximum value you can get out of him. Because 2 leadership is a lot, and captain is a lot, and he has good cards. So he can really fight Shadow. So what I do is, I see this army coming, and rather than running or anything else, I just muster an elite. So come at me, Witch King. Theoretically, they could play Deadly Strife and get 5 hits, but I could play, if I see a strategy card coming, I could play Daring Defiance, or maybe I could just risk it and play a No Quarter, or Anduril, and this Shadow army could get devastated. Let's see what they do. They don't go for a direct confrontation. They instead go to surround Aragorn. So Aragorn now has no retreat path. If they attack into me in Edoras now, I'm going to just have to fight to the death, and Aragorn will die. So I move out into Fold, and they move into Helm's Deep. And this is kind of interesting to me because they don't actually have a means of attacking me. Maybe they assumed, I don't know. I think they were trying to put pressure on me to run away with Aragorn, but the truth is Aragorn is not a coward. Aragorn will stand and fight. If they attack me and it goes poorly, oh well, I'll limp into Minas Tirith. That didn't work. But the truth is, they don't even have dice to attack me, and even if they did, they should probably be afraid of scouts. So I think being willing to stand and fight, having Aragorn be brave, is a pretty good move. They start mustering, and I'm mustering in Helm's Deep and Fold. No, Helm's Deep and Fold. So I'm building up my army here in Fold, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to muster a reasonable army in Helm's Deep, so they can't just take it in one attack, and then this army is going to go ranging somewhere. That's my plan. They muster again in Moria. This is good. They're warding off any future Free People military attempts. I get another regular Fold, and they play Cruel Weather to prevent me getting past Moria. So this is an interesting early use of Cruel Weather. They could consider just a Nazgul Strike to get me through Moria. But as it is, this is what they decide to do. They're slowing me down. I obviously have not made a lot of fellowship progress. I'm very happy to have Rohan to war this early. Rohan still has a big mustering pool. So we're both working on advancing our win paths. Unfortunately, I was unable to use cards, and I'm left with this hand. Look at this hand. You have Path of the Woses for movement. You have Dead Men of Dunharrow to get Strider with a massive army. That's a huge endgame problem. You have We Prove the Swifter to evacuate companions, or maybe move Gandalf in. You have an Ents when there's fighting in Rohan, and with an Ent, I could probably beat the Witch King army. If I use an Ent and Andoril, I think I could probably win if they attack me. I have Thrudain and Night, which lets me get to strongholds, and I have Mithril, which is great for endgame stuff. So what do you discard here? And I have Power 2 Great too, which is useful. That is so tough to decide what to discard. I think, in the end, I think about this for a while, and I have to do this by processes of elimination. So I think Dead Men, obviously, game-changing card, I have to keep it. Thrudain and Night, game-changing card, I have to keep it. Everything else is potentially on the chopping block. I think Athelas is really good. I think I want to keep it. I think it's just a better Nameless Wood. Because it's a lot more flexible. I don't know if I'm actually even going to fight in Rohan. So I think Athelas is a definite keep. I think Mithril is a keep. It's so important for corruption. And the Fellowship is not necessarily screwed, right? They're 3 steps out. Depending on how things go, they might go into Old Ford. They might go back down through Moria. I don't want to give up on that win condition. So that really leaves these 4 cards as potential discards. And I think what I end up deciding, let's see, I get rid of We Prove the Swifter and a Power 2 Great. We Prove the Swifter makes the most sense to me. A Power 2 Great is pretty sad to give up. But I'm figuring I'm just going to muster the elves before they come for me. They get a really nice roll, few eyes. And I get a pretty nice roll too. I'm moving and I'm safe. So I'm really excited about that. That is my move to get past Moria, so I'm thinking, great. Even after Cruel Weather, I'm going to get through Moria. They play The Ring Is Mine. I muster again in Fold. So Fold is just getting out of control and is going to be a major factor in whatever Free People military attempt I try. They move to Eastonnet, and I think this is pretty cool. They are anticipating that I could have a card like Thrudain and Night, which I do, and they are trying to block me from easily getting up to Dol Guldur and taking it. Aragorn is scary, and I say Aragorn on an open field. he's a tough SOB. You know, for Shadow, this army is so paralyzed, they can't even go take Helm's Deep, which was probably their original plan. So, I'm pretty happy with this. They block me in Druiding, and they're just trying to contain me. I wonder if the next action they would take here is to attack me. And then, even if that goes poorly, and it probably would, I have Nameless Wood, then at least they're whittling down this army. But I do a leader in Fold, and a regular in Edoras. So I'm just buffing up my army. If they do attack me, I don't even know if I'll retreat, but if I do, I have reinforcements. And yeah, I think it's actually pretty dangerous to attack me. They have 9 hit points against my 9 hit points. I have more leadership. They could potentially move in Nazgul. But we're in Rohan, so Ents exist. They're getting ready. They move the guys from Southrune over to the Ash Mountains. I'm of 2 minds about this play. I think it helps Mordor, which is nice. It's always nice to get more reinforcements over here. The only problem with this is it means there's no threat to do whatsoever. One thing they could consider doing is just go sit on Erebor, because someday I'm going to draw Book of Mizarble. And if they can sit on Erebor, then then the dwarves aren't going to be a threat. So that might give them better outcomes than going south like this, but we'll see. I move the Fellowship. I don't need to move them again. Maybe this is a mistake. I have this extra character dice, is what I'm thinking. I might as well use it. And I do get hit and revealed. And it's not too bad for me. Obviously, it would be nice to go the Lorien route, but I get to go to Carrick, which is a pretty safe place for the Fellowship to be. They can't play character cards on me in Carrick, so no Candles of Corpses, no Exealder's Bane, nothing like that, because it is a free people settlement. They muster up in Northrune, so they're building their army anyway, and I hide. And I'm just taking it easy. I'm going to completely exhaust the Rohan force pool. I'm going to get up to 5 elites and some leaders, and only then will I go on the offensive. And they just have to sit and wait and imagine what I'm going to do in the meantime. They moved to put a Nazgul on the Fellowship. Fair enough. And they keep the Witch King away. So at this point, this army definitely cannot defeat this army, and they just want to do some damage to me. It's not insane to just attack me once here. Again, I have good cards for it, so I understand why they're not doing that. But now the Witch King is more mobile, and they're going to go present a threat somewhere else. Nope. Hopefully that didn't mess up the replay. Let's see. I get these cards. What do you discard here? I think Sudden Strike is a great card. I mean, this is starting to build up a lot of stuff. Man, again, there's so many good cards for me. I think Advantageous Position is a definite out, and then I'd maybe kill the Ents, because I don't think they're going to attack me in Rohan. I think battles are going to happen outside of Rohan. So I killed Glorfindel and Sudden Strike. That's reasonable too. They get this. I think you just kill Threats and Promises. It's just not very useful. Yeah. They get 3 eyes, and once again, I have more dice than they have. This can happen pretty regularly with 6 dice. I get another elite, so I'm just going crazy with these elites. They are moving. I attack Druidane. So now I'm breaking out. I could potentially wait for another leader. I mean, there's still 2 leaders in the force pool, so it would be nice to get full leadership. But I can always get companions with these guys later. And really what I want to do is break out and then go somewhere. I could have played Path of the Wozes right now, but I don't really see it as a huge benefit. I'll just save it. Yeah, I just play Sudden Strike. So, very dead in Druiden Forest, and this army's on the move, and there's very little stopping it from taking a stronghold. They do this. So they are moving to gum me up with orcs and block me from playing through a day and a night to Western Brownlands. That's really cool. I attack Western Emyn Wheel. And I just annihilate this poor orc. He actually gets a hit back, so good job, orc. And they block me again. Now, this doesn't fully block me. I can just go up to Eastern Brownlands. But they're doing a really good job of mirroring me and preventing me from getting easy points. It has just completely busted their military attack. Like, they have nothing at the moment. But, with this army, it looks pretty scary, and I don't want to lose up points. Now, I have to think about what to do here, and I think for quite a while, and I end up deciding to muster Gondor. So, while interesting, I think that there's a few dynamics here. First of all, I mustered up Rohan pretty good. It's time to get Gondor going. That's my thinking, right? There's a big Gondor force pool out there that I just have to muster up, and I'm going to build up a second army. And the second part of this is I could go for Dol Guldur right now. I could go here. and then here, and then ring move and take it. They're probably going to just fight me and sit on me and throw themselves at me. Maybe that's a winning proposition, but I feel like facing off against whatever they have for Dol Guldur, and they could have Orcs multiplying again. They don't, but they could. And giving them a ring, I feel like it's probably not as good for me as just keeping this army around as a threat and preserving the fellowship chances. So I'm going to play the long game. My opponent in game one, Wei, played a very quick game, and they were just go, go, go with tempo, and they managed to get to 4 just in time. And it was a really cool game. But how I tend to do Free People Military Victory, if given the choice, is I muster up a lot of big armies, I keep shadow guessing, I wait for the right opportunity. It's just 2 different philosophies, both can work. They muster up in Dol Guldur, I move the Fellowship, and I get hit, which is unfortunate. They muster up again, so they're mustering more, and I play Athelas. This could be a great card, but I still have corruption hopes. And if the Fellowship can maintain a realistic possibility of dunking the ring, then they are going to be in so much trouble, because then I have 2 win paths. But I don't get any healing, which is sad. I get Spirit of Mordor, so another Scouts. They get pretty good cards. Isildur's Bane is nice. It can't currently be played. What do you get rid of here? I think you definitely don't need Denethor's Folly. And then after that, probably either Worn with Sorrow and Toil, or... yeah, probably Worn with Sorrow and Toil. Words of Power is nice, but it is not as important. Yep, that's exactly what they discard. They get a nice roll, lots of attacks and musters. I get a middling roll. And what am I going to do here? There's only 1 eye, so that's pretty nice. And I'm starting to muster up, so I'm getting a nice guy in Helm's Deep. I want Helm's Deep to at least be annoying and take several dice to take out. I don't want it to be free. They attack Dale. I Scouts away, so Erebor is nice and well defended. And I'm thinking this is important because I would really like to not have Erebor sat on. So if they attack me in Erebor right now, I'm going to field battle. So the North goes towards war. I just muster the North all the way to war. They're moving out. They want to sit on the North and prevent me from building them up. I muster an elite in Carrick. So this army is like, it is possible that it could beat this army. They attack Carrick. They get no hits. I get 1 hit. I think about it, and I actually retreat. And they move 1 guy here. The North is really interesting at this time. Because they still need to defend Dale. Because these guys can retake Dale, and then that's bad. So they have all these attacks, but they have to counter the North, which is big annoying. They're moving down south, so they're going to rush... they're going to rush Gondor. They attack Osgiliath. They get a 6. I don't get a hit. They move in. And I do this. So this is a really interesting move. I move Gimli up to Northern Mirkwood, because now he can take out Carrick. And I don't want rerolls on the Fellowship. I want to free up this mustering point. Let's go free Carrick. I move Aragorn into Dead Men position, locking on target. And I move Gandalf over to the Western Emyn army. While Ents are nice, and I have an Ent in hand, it's not my top priority right now. If they move out of Orthanc, I can move a guy in and take it out. But having a companion with these guys in Western Emyn means that they can through day and night at literally any time and they're hamstringing like so much of Shadow's military. They're over here, they're over here, they're down here and here. These guys could go a lot of places. And furthermore, I don't want this army, while I'm not going on the offensive with it right now, I do not want Shadow to just blow it up. I want Shadow to... I want this army to be still around for endgame, because eventually it's going to be used to take a stronghold. I need to get a second big army. Maybe that's going to be in the north. Maybe that's going to be in the south. But this army needs to stay alive, and Gandalf will do a good job of doing that. They attack Minas Tirith, put it under siege, and I play Dead Men now. You could argue to wait for a more opportune time. That is definitely plausible, but now I have 5 regulars down here. They just abandoned Osgiliath, so they have nothing to attack Aragorn with, and I still have 3 elites I can put into Polar Gear. So Aragorn can build up. This is going to be crazy. I got Aragorn building up in the south. He can go take Umbar, and Gandalf can go take either Dol Guldur or Morannon, or maybe Moria, and that's 4 points. And then I still have Gimli up here being a little shit. So this is working out really well for me. They're attacking Minas Tirith. They try and blow it up with Deadly Strike, but it fails, which is huge. I get 4 hits back, and they simply cannot take Minas Tirith. You know, if they took Minas Tirith, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I do want this army to do some damage back, and they certainly did. I get another Ent, and I get Círdan's ships, which is huge. That can reinforce Aragorn and make him even more of a menace. I get this beautiful roll, but they get a nice roll to counter it, and I just start mustering up. I could go on the offensive now, but if they have Day Without Dawn, they don't, but if they have Day Without Dawn, my entire offensive would get stalled, and then I would lose a ton of time, as they would be able to basically make Aragorn run away and waste this whole effort. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to muster up and wait another turn. They are taking the threat very seriously. They leave Minas Tirith under siege, but they go to confront Aragorn. And I muster up again. So now I have 2 elites in Polar Gear. They're getting nice and ready. And I attack Osgiliath. I could muster more, but Osgiliath is just such a nice place to sit in, and they basically gave it up to me. So I'm going to go sit in Osgiliath, and they're going to be sad. I get 0 hits, and they get 0 hits. And they move like this. And now I attack Carrick. So they could throw themselves into me. I do have the defenses of Osgiliath. My thinking is, if they choose to throw themselves into me, I could kind of like ring around the rosy. I could move up to Dead Marshes and meet up with Gandalf if things get really bad. Or I could move over to Lossarnock and retake Polar Gear. And if it goes well for me, I'll just stay. And they will be bashing themselves against brick wall. So while all this is going on, I'm going to go take Carrick. I'm going to free up the North mustering pool. And I'm going to start mustering up a 3rd army. And then I will have just maximum flexibility over here. I get a hit. They get a hit. And Carrick is free. They start mustering up. They play Hill Trolls to buff up that army. Very nice. And I start mustering Carrick. It's going to be a while before Carrick is ready, but the North force pool is large and still remains to be used. I'm thinking about it. I put another regular in fold. I think that's a mistake. I don't need this regular in fold. That's interesting. They muster up, and I move the Fellowship, because I am still thinking about the ring victory. Right? Now this brings me to 1, 2, 3 movement to Southern Ravanian. With my guys in the Fellowship, I have pretty good chances of dunking the ring. They draw a card. I get the Red Arrow. Scouts is pretty nice here. Heroic Death is also pretty nice here. I think I certainly just get rid of Ents, and maybe the blue tile. What do they get? They get Corsairs, ordinarily a great card. In this situation, is it even useful for them? I don't know. I don't know how useful Corsairs is for them. If I were them, I don't know. I don't know if you can discard Corsairs. It's so good. Nautical Strike is also good to get the Fellowship, because guess what? Ring Victory is still a possibility. So I don't know. I think you definitely want Half-Orcs and Goblin Men. You want your Dread and Despairs to counter military stuff. So maybe you get rid of Isildur's Bane, and maybe you have Words of Power. Yep, I kill Ent's Rage and Elven Rope. I keep one Ent. I still want to be able to do Ent things, maybe. And they kill Great Host. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's unlikely to trigger. I get a roll that's, you know, not... It's a lot of attacks. But they have a lot of musters, so I'm a little hesitant to move out this early. They attack Osgiliath, and they get 0 hits, and I get 4. So Aragorn just stomps them. We both do no card, which is kind of interesting. I want to save all my cards at the moment. For them, they could, I guess, try a Dread and Despair, but maybe they're saving this for Fellowship. I feel like breaking, though, to reduce my number of hits, that wouldn't be a terrible idea. They just stop. So Aragorn isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Oh, they're recycling their orcs. I move out now. This is interesting. What I'm thinking is they have plenty of time to muster up in Mount Gundabad, so I'm just going to put them under siege now, and then I'm going to add more elites later. But they play Half-Orcs and Goblin Men right into Mount Gundabad, so my plan kind of backfires. I think it's probably better. I think I imagined that this would go better than it did. You got to keep in mind that if I'm mustering up to Carrick, then while they can defend Gundabad, they only have so many orcs, and they still need to worry about Mordor. So I think I'm already pressuring them enough, and I don't need to have these guys under siege. But I start mustering again. They start mustering. I move these guys out. I guess this guy's going to join with this army, so I get a little reinforcements. They muster again, and I move the Fellowship. This time I'm hit and revealed, which is not ideal, but I am all the way down here. So I'm kind of a turn away from Mordor. We'll see if they ever actually reach there. And I do have multiple threats on the board. They move their Nazgul. They want to make sure Gundabad isn't going to fall just like that. So they do this. Probably saving... I guess what they were doing... And yeah, this makes sense to me. They were saving their Dread and Despairs for Gundabad. When I start attacking Gundabad, they can play Dread and Despairs and basically make it impossible to take. So that's not crazy. I get I Will Go Alone and Celeborns. Man, this is another tough discard. Maybe I get rid of the other Ents. I don't think Ents are going to be relevant to this game. What is my other discard? That I couldn't tell you. Maybe I Will Go Alone? I get rid of I Will Go Alone in the Ents, and they get rid of Dreadful Spells. Okay. And I get not a lot of attacks, but there's still kind of enough for what I want to do. I attack West Horondor. This is interesting. I am going to threaten Umbar. I have Cirdan ships. I attack, they muster, and I attack Umbar. They're getting ready. And I just muster in Carrick. Yeah, I think if I'm going to do this Umbar plan, it's not terrible. But I think what I do is I play Cirdans now, and then I run into Umbar. Because that'll be a 5-4-2. Maybe I just don't have good enough cards, is what I'm thinking of. I don't know, because they go south, and now I run away from Umbar. Because... I don't want to fight this Witch King army and just get eviscerated. They move again to contain Aragorn, which is fine. Right now, Aragorn is not in any danger of dying. He can retreat to Kant. But this is certainly scary. And I muster again. They attack Umbar. They're just freeing it. And I scouts. And they play Candles. So the Fellowship... They get 3 hits, so the Fellowship is really getting hammered now. So I think it's at about this point I decide to give up on the Fellowship entirely, and I play through a day and a night. there's been all this stuff with Aragorn. He's been busy. But now I can just move into Daggerlad and take Mornon. And they don't have any rings. I haven't given them rings this entire game. All they have is a character die, so they're not going to be able to stop this army from taking Mornon. And I can bring these companions, and then I have Mornon for sure, and then either an Umbar with Cirdan's again, or maybe in Gundabad, or 4 cities I can get to 4, or 2 cities I can get to 4. And they bring the army back. So this army has been ping-ponging all over the place. It went for Minas Tirith, the Witch King was deterred, they fought Aragorn a couple times and maneuvered around him, and now Gandalf's threatening them from the north. So they just have... This is something I talked about in the first game. Free People armies can just be so mobile and so hard to pin down, and especially when Free People is able to bring all these armies to bear. Sometimes War of the Ring feels like not quite a war game. Only Shadow's the one who gets to do a war game. In games like this, both sides are getting to play a war game. I have these large armies, and it's a game of maneuvering. There's a lot of tricks and thinking, and now we're going to go on to the next turn. And I think if they get a bad roll here, I'm going to march in and take Angmar and Farharad and take Mornon and win the game. They get an okay roll, though. I also get a good roll. I besiege Mornon. They move out. They're thinking. They say, wait, you're a genius. The 4 cities victory. So this is indeed my plan. If they just move into Minas Morgul, it's fine. I'm going to be able to take Mornon, though. I don't think this army can stop me from taking Mornon. It's just going to contain me from taking more Mordor strongholds. So what I'm planning to do at the moment is take Mornon, take Angmar, take Farharad, win the game. So they have to counter that, and they also have to prevent me from just taking 2 Mordor strongholds. And they need to prevent me from taking Umbar. So they have a lot on their plate. What are they going to do? They move out. So they move to here. And this maybe should be assigned to me. This should be... Warning bells should be flashing in my head. But I don't see it. I separate companions. So I got all these companions now in Mornon. Full 5 leadership. Frodo is abandoned. The Fellowship's done. But that's fine. Right? This is clearly a better move for me at the moment. They're getting ready. I attack Mornon, and I play my Mighty Attack. I'm going to get my free hit while I can. It's not really that useful of a card for Aragorn, because he has 2 leadership, so it's debatable whether you even want to do it. So I play my Mighty Attack, and I get 2 hits. That's pretty good. They get 0. And I press, because at this point, I need to take them out before this army comes in. So I press... And I get 2 6s, that's pretty good. But unfortunately, I have to just kill an elite because I overmustered Rohan. At least in my opinion. Wait, no, I don't have to kill an elite. I still have 1 more elite in casualties, so I attack and I get 0 6s on 10 dice, so that sucks. And now I have to kill an elite. So I think this muster and fold was a big mistake. I think maybe if I just had 1 more elite instead of 1 regular here, I'd be better off. And just put another regular over in Carrick, I guess. And then I miss again, and I have to kill another elite, and finally I get it. So that was painful. I had to take 4 hits. I had to press, I think, 4 times. And I had to take 2 HP for the last 2 on each press. So this army, which was a 3-5, is now reduced to a 3-1 and can be taken out by this army. So that's really sad. They muster up an Umbar, and I'm really hoping they do not do that, but they do. And then I move out, and I take Farharad, but they play Shadows Gather. And I really should have foreseen this. If I had foreseen this, I could have blocked in Trollshaws with this move, waited to my last die to take Farharad, and then they would be able to muster an elite, but likely this takes it. But now this is just too strong, and I can't take it with Gimli. I'm mad at myself. I didn't see that coming. But this is a beautiful play on their part to move from Holland to Angmar to see what I am doing in advance and prep this and see the shadows gather and decide to go up north. I think that's really cool. They're mustering up. I move out because now it looks like I need to take Umbar. They attack Mornon, and I notice that Moria's open. So, although this has been, and I think about how I'm going to do it, and I ultimately decide this. Although this was a devastating turn of events, losing 4 elites like that, pressing down that siege. And although they had a really smart play, now Moria's open. So if I can take Moria and hold Mornon, I win the game. If I can take Moria and take Umbar, I win the game. So military is very much still on the table. And they could use the ring I just gave them to muster in Moria, but they likely figure it's not going to make a difference. So they decide to go for Mornon. I play Blade of Westerness. I have been saving this the whole game. They don't play a card because there's nothing they can play. They can play Deadly Strife, but I'm just going to shine, and I guess they figured that it won't work out well for them. Regardless, I play Blade of Westerness. I've been saving this the whole game, and now I'm going to try and kill the Witch King. Because corruption isn't, dunking isn't happening. Let's take out their dice. They get 1 hit, and I get 3, and I kill the Witch King. So the Witch King is dead. The Blade of Westerness murdered him in the Black Gate, and now they don't have any leadership in Mordor. Now, that being said, you know, how much does it matter having leadership in Mordor when I have Gandalf? And I only have 4 HP left, so this stronghold could still definitely fall next turn, and I could lose Gandalf. But they don't have the Witch King anymore, which is going to make their life a lot harder. Let's see. I get King Brandsman and Bilbo's Song. And they get Orcs Multiplying again, and what else did they get? Foul Thing. They just kill Morgul Wounds. Corruption doesn't seem like it's going to be a thing. And I get a really nice amount of attacks. They get a pretty good roll for defense, but they do roll 3 eyes. But they roll too many. So, yeah, the Witch King takes away an attack, because we get rid of the rightmost die. So, yeah, good job. Which Hobbit do you think it was? Maybe it was a team effort between Merry and Pippin. And they got the Rohirrim here, too, so presumably Éowyn was a part of that. So good job, guys. That helps a lot. I attack Moria. I don't want them mustering there. They attack Mornon. They have an Onslaught, and I have Heroic Death. Onslaught is a great card to play here. Obviously, they're just going to want to Onslaught 4. They get 2 hits, so I get 2 back. Bye-bye, Boromir. They Onslaught 4, and they only get 1. So that was really lucky for me. I wonder about losing the Elite. Like, maybe they could have Onslaughted with these guys instead. I guess I could Sortie, and that would be a problem. I don't know. Regardless, I'm moving out. I still have the possibility of doing 4 cities, and it still matters because I'm going to take Moria, and if I lose Mornon, I need to have 2 more points somewhere else. They move their Nazgul to Angmar, and they have been really nicely. They've been saving all of these Nazgul cards that are useless against Gandalf, but they are very useful up in Angmar, where they're going to be able to fight off Gimli. Let's see. I attack Moria. I just take it out. That's not unexpected. I'm up to 5 points, but can I hold them? They get a nice army, so they're going to get a 10 stack, and they're going to play Deadly Strife against Gandalf. So we're going to see what happens. They only bring 1 Nazgul because Gandalf's just going to cancel them all anyway. So they just want to turn off Gandalf. Fair enough. And I think, and I say, let me check something. And I do. And I ring move to move into Arnor and Farharad. And I'm moving back and forth with Aragorn. Part of my thinking here is if they have hordes from the east, they could play it in Khand and retake Farharad. So I don't want to go too far from them. I considered Umbar, but I think this is better. And indeed, they did have hordes from the east, and they told me after the game they were thinking of doing exactly that. So my paranoia about it completely paid off. As it happens, they wouldn't have had time this turn, but they definitely could have if I ranged too far last turn. I'm moving to Arnor. Why would I do this, right? Edmor's is already adjacent to Angmar. Well, my opponent realizes right away, and they start laughing. They get ready in Mornon, and I play Cirdan ships! Cirdan ships to Arnor, because it's not entirely clear on the Java client. It's much clearer in the actual game itself that this is a coastal region. But it is a coastal region, and so I spawn 2 more elves. That's basically all of my Elven Force pool. And before, it was 10 HP against their 9, and they had more leadership. And now it is 14 HP against their 9, which is much, much more likely to win. So, Cirdan's comes to Arnor, and he meets up with these guys, including Gimli, I guess, from Carrick. They came all the way over the Misty Mountains here. Did a pit stop in Mount Gundabad, couldn't take it, and now we're going to go to take out the resurgent Kingdom of Angmar. And they attack Mornon, because they have no choice, right? They have to take Mornon, and if they fail to take Mornon, they lose the game. And by the way, the thing about this Arnor play that is so cool to me is that it is incredibly relevant to the game. It is one thing to do a play like this, have Cirdan ships to Arnor, and just have it in a game where it's like the outcome is already decided and you're just fooling around, or you're just playing as like, you're just doing it for a laugh, right? It is another thing entirely to make a move like Cirdan ships to Arnor, and for it to be, in my opinion, the 100% optimal move for free people. This helps me a lot. This significantly increases my win chances to have 2 extra elites here. And I just think that's so beautiful. How often, I would be really interested if there's any other game that exists that has Cirdan ships to Arnor that has a material impact on the game. Because I've never seen this before. But regardless, they need to take Mornon first for it to even matter. And I tell them I'm almost hoping that they take it, because it'll make it more important. They play Deadly Strife, and I play Shield Wall. I have a Daylight, so Deadly Strife, Daylight versus Shield Wall, seeing a strategy card. When you see a strategy card like that, there's really a couple options. There's Onslaught. Another Onslaught would suck. That would be their best chance to win. And there's something like Deadly Strife or Desperate Battle. And against a Deadly Strife, Daylight reduces it from 2.5 hits to 1.5 hits. And by the way, it doesn't matter, really. It's just their chances of getting 3 hits that matter, because there's not going to be a round after this. This is the last round. So I need to prevent them from getting 3 hits. And in preventing them from getting 3 hits, with a Daylight, there would be, what, a 1 in 8 chance of rolling 3 4s with 3 dice. With a Shield Wall and a Deadly Strife, it reduces their expected hits by 1, so they have to get 4 hits on 5 dice. I don't know the exact math, but I think how it works out is about the same. Daylight versus Shield Wall. And Shield Wall's better against Desperate Battle or a few other cards. Either way, they roll. It all comes down to this. If they don't get it, then it's GG. And they roll, I shine, and they need 4 hits on 4s. And they get 3 hits on 4s. So that is the end of the game. They were this close to retaking Morna. And by the way, we played out this battle afterward. I actually lost with Gimli, which is crazy. It was pretty close, but they had a lot of good combat cards. But yeah, I don't know how I lost this battle after, but it doesn't matter because I held Mornon. So this was a crazy game, tons of maneuvering, and this was a crazy matchup in general. We played these two games back to back, and we both played as Free People, and we both won a Free People military victory, but despite the shadows in each game, playing very defensively, like willing to do stuff to counter Free People. This was not a case of just one bad roll. Like, there was no roll where Shadow just rolled 6 eyes. And neither was there a time where Shadow just completely neglected military defense at all. The problem is, in these games, Free People is just so slippery, they can go so many places, and they can build up pretty huge armies once you get 6 dice. So, I think what I would recommend, if you're watching this video still, and you enjoyed it, is just to try Free People military victories in Return of the King games. You know, they're really hard to do when you're in base. But when you get 5 dice turn 1, and often 6 dice turn 2 or turn 3, you can quickly build up massive armies and directly challenge Shadow. And it's a really cool way of playing the game. And, you know, if some things had gone differently, I was still moving the Fellowship. If some things had gone differently, maybe I could have gone for a Fellowship victory, but they had good corruption, they had a good Candles Corpses. So you don't have to completely give up hope on the ring to try military victory. It's not an all-or-nothing deal. So, excellent games against Wei, and I hope you enjoyed these castings. Both games were really fun. I'm excited to play more Return of the King games, because they just really make a great game even better. Hope you all have a great day.